The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
You're listening to the Sports Scramble podcast, where four friends serve up a weekly plate of sports with a side of SEC bias. Now, here are your hosts, Chet, Jacob, Wade, and Tyler.
Let's go!
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of the Sports Scramble podcast. As always, I'm your host, Chet, and we got my co-hosts, Wade and Tyler, with us after some wonderful College World Series baseball, some golf. Basketball wrapped up last week. Some people call it a dead time in sports, but I think we're just getting started. How are y'all doing this weekend?
Yeah, had an eventful weekend full of sports. It started early on Thursday. We hit up English Turn again with the boys and had a good round.
There you go.
Nice.
Got some golf in. I almost died on the golf course because it was like 104 degrees, and I decided I was going to go walk 9 holes. Played good, but thoroughly regretted it afterwards. Did you get any sports in this weekend?
Nothing organized other than volleyball this week, which we lost. So back to the L column.
1-1.
Team just didn't come out firing. This go around, we played at 6:30, and as y'all know, it's very hot at 6:30 in the afternoon when the sun is coming right into your eyes. So,
yeah.
And we have the 6:30 slot again this week. So
I saw the power was going out in Baton Rouge because it was so hot, and people were freaking out because it was right before the LSU game had first pitch, and they were like, "Where are we going to watch the game?" Walk-ons was out of power. What's the Superior Grill was out of power. It was like all the spots were gone. It was like you got to get a generator, rock and roll. It's almost hurricane season.
Yeah, Lisa and I were in our Rouse's getting a pregame meal, and we just saw it just downpour outside, and we were like, well, we're going to be here a minute. And sure enough, like always, 30 minutes blows right by. That's what we were trying to tell the NCAA, is it's going to happen every day, but it's going to blow over.
Yeah, I mean, we had a little bit of weather delays in Omaha, and people were like, LSU brought the weather with them. So,
yeah.
But we also brought the Jello shots, so it's okay. We're dominating that record. But, I mean, let's get into it. We got, College World Series kicked off on Friday. You had Florida win their first game, Oral Roberts win their first game, and, of course, Saturday you had Wake Forest come back and beat Stanford, and then LSU ended up taking down the Volunteers. Let's get to the first game was TCU and Oral Roberts, and I didn't watch a whole lot of this game, but it was a comeback, wasn't it? Did TCU Oral Roberts came back later innings and took that game from the Horned Frogs?
Yep, they sure did.
Yeah, so
it was a ninth inning heroics for both of those games on Friday. It was really cool to kick off Omaha in that fashion. You never want to see teams come in and get bulldozed. You want quality baseball, and all the games this weekend were really tight.
Yeah, I mean, at one point LSU looked like they were going to run away with it with Paul Skeens on the mound, and as soon as you pull them, next pitch, boom, 2-run home run to make the game 5-2. Yeah, like literally, Gavin Guidry came in through one pitch, and it was a moonshot over the left center wall. So, but like you said, the Omaha has lived up to the hype. There's been more home runs than some people have expected. They keep saying, "Oh, it's not a hitter's ballpark." I don't know. I mean, it's not a bunch of runs scored, but I think you're just facing that good of pitching staff. But they are, they're hitting home runs when they need to. One of the biggest things is the home run of the Jello Shot Challenge. We've got a live update from, Rocco's in Omaha. Of course, as we mentioned last show, the record was 18,777 set by Ole Miss this year. That was for the entire 2 weeks. We are currently 3 days into the tournament, and the LSU fans have tallied up 10,474. They're on pace to break the record by the middle of next week. I saw a tweet. It's 134 Jello shots an hour by LSU. It's what they're putting out over there in the bar. So, second place is a respectable Wake Forest at 4,463, and then TCU in third, 2,679, and Oral Roberts. We didn't give them any chance last week, but they're sitting in fourth place with over 2,000. Okay,
Wade tried, and we shot them down.
Yep. Virginia and Stanford are both lowly. Virginia's eliminated. They lost this morning to TCU, right? Is that who beat them this morning?
Yep.
Yeah, so score of 4-3. So Virginia's going home. I mean, their fans can hang out and drink some more. But and of course, actually, right now Florida is beating Oral Roberts 2-1. And we had to do the show on Sunday night, normally Monday night, but our beloved Tigers are playing. So, what was your favorite game from the weekend, guys? What y'all see? What stood out?
Yeah, I feel like the opener was my favorite game. The Florida one was also a good one, but I just feel like Old Roberts, especially with the way that they did it, it was the 9-hole. He hit a
Yep.
3-run bomb. The announcers thought that it was a walk-off, but they forgot that it was in the top of the ninth. But
The announcers have been a little
I.
iffy this weekend. They were maybe heat
the announcers
dehydration.
have been a little bit iffy, but Oral Roberts, man, like you go back to the Super Regional, they were up by 8. Now in Omaha, they were down by 3 at one point, and then in the ninth, they were able to crawl back. So this Oral Roberts team is fighting and clawing right now. They're only down by a run with First and Waldrop on the mound, one of Florida's aces. So if they win tonight, I mean, this would just be a Cinderella story. This team might even top Fresno State if they were able to make it that far.
Yeah, I mean, I got to get my hands on one of their shirts. Tyler, you found them the other day. Each team put out the branded Omaha gear, and Oral Roberts is Oral Aha to play on words. And Stanford is just Stanford. Like they didn't come up with anything creative. Of course, you got Gomaha over there from LSU. I think what was Florida's? Florida's was decent.
It was like Oma Chomp.
Yeah, Oma Chomp, something like that. But then you just got Stanford. They're smart over there, but they're not creative. So, Wade, what was your favorite game?
Lacking.
Yeah.
Favorite game? I mean, obviously LSU win was pretty sweet. But I think that as far as excitement factor, that Florida and Virginia game definitely fit the bill. Florida was, of course, up early. They had a really good pitching performance from their guy, number 8. His name's slipping my mind right now. And then they let up the lead, and I was looking like a genius for the Virginia upset pick. And then Florida came right back. I thought it was interesting that their catcher, who has 17 home runs and a .350 batting average, has already decided to accept a business consulting position and says he's not even going to enter his name in the draft. I think that could change after this week, after he hit the 2-run tank in the 9th inning.
If I'm him, I'm giving the draft a shot. I mean, if you don't like where you get drafted, just turn it down and go work. I mean, that's kind of crazy.
As somebody who sits at a desk, I would try to give it a shot.
I mean, we've had a minor league catcher on the show a couple of months ago. I mean, he just said you just give it a shot, see where it takes you. I mean, he might not be called up to the Florida's guy might not be called up to the majors anytime soon, but I mean, what's it hurt to put your name in the draft? It's not like you got to go to. Do they even have like a place where they hold it, like the NFL does?
They do now. They pushed back the draft, I think, this year, and it won't be during Omaha. They tried doing the draft at Omaha. That was a failed experiment during the COVID year. Didn't happen. And then they've bumped it back now to the MLB All-Star break. So they hosted, I think, in the city where the All-Star game is. And they fly in the number 1 or, the top couple picks. They fly them in for the game.
Yeah. So after they're picked, is the draft after the All-Star game? It's just during
I think it's the day of the home run derby or the day before.
Okay. Where's the All-Star game at this year?
This year it's in Seattle.
Okay, so we'll see Dylan Cruz and Paul Skeens sitting next to each other in first class on a flight out of Baton Rouge to Seattle.
They will not attend that. There's no way.
They might just be on a first class flight to middle of nowhere, Illinois, where they're going to start their minor league journey.
That is true. I mean, the announcers were speculating Paul Skeens' MLB start last night. Which let's talk about the announcers for a second. I think they're getting into the jello shots. Like Tyler said, oh my gosh, a walk-off home run. They said velo about 45 times during the game last night. So it's not I like seeing Big McDonald up there. I mean, tomorrow night I might just put on LSU's radio broadcast.
Worse tomorrow night.
Yeah, and just listen to it. So that way you got Chris Blair and Doug Thompson and the guys over there. But it's they're trying. I'll give them that. I think that they should let the three of us do color commentary out there. But I might get into the jello shots if I'm out there calling games all day. I imagine you get tired. But Paul Skeens had 12 strikeouts last night? Was it 12 or 11? 12?
ended with 12.
So he's two away from tying the SEC record at Ben McDonald. Set 3 away from breaking it. Now, if he gets another chance to pitch, it's a given. But question for you, Tyler: if LSU's facing a potential elimination game, do you throw Skeens?
Yeah.
Like if it's a Thursday, you got it. Got to throw.
No question at all. Your season's on the line. You want your ace on the mound. I don't care if it's going to be. Well, I believe it would be like a Thursday game. I think it was the 2-1. I'm not sure if the schedule or not.
I've got it pulled up right here.
And Google that for me real quick. But if it's at least like a 5-day rest, I would definitely put him on the mound. I think, he threw like 114, 115 pitches last night. So he definitely is going to need some normal rest. I think if you're in an elimination game, your season's on the line, what better way than have Paul Skeens on the mound?
Well, here's the thing. If they lose Monday night, they'll play Tuesday night. That might be a tad too soon to throw a guy who just threw 120 pitches. I don't know. I mean, he's not going to be.
It would have to be. The only way that I would pitch him is in the 2-1 game.
Yeah, and that would be a Thursday game, which I think is enough.
Then that would be enough
5 days
for him.
I mean, that's what you throw your starters in the MLB. They got 5 days rest. I know he's been working 7. Ideally, you don't have to throw him until you get to the championship game. You go 3-0, you're set up.
I mean, if it gets to that point, with his attitude, I think that he's going to be like, "Coach, give me the ball." Yeah. I'm shut.
That's another thing. Wade, I want you to speak to this. I've been seeing on Twitter all these MLB scouts talk about how Jay Johnson doesn't have Paul Skeens' best interest at heart, how it's disgusting that they're letting him throw complete games at 120 pitches when he's going to be drafted in 2 weeks. I have a feeling it's more Paul Skeens telling Jay, "No, coach, I'm not coming off the mound. I don't care what you say." What do you think?
Yeah, I think you could visibly see that Paul Skeens was not happy that his coach didn't let him finish the inning yesterday. I think he wanted to finish the 8th. I think a complete game was kind of out of the question at that point. And ultimately, I think Johnson probably made the right decision. Easy to say that after a win. Right. But no, LSU's been conditioning Paul Skeens for this moment. The pitch count has gotten a little bit higher as we've gone along, but, he's in a very good position. He's already pretty well developed as a prospect. He's kind of one of the rare college guys that you can get a guaranteed 7 innings out of nowadays. Most guys are going 5 or 6 at the max. So he's built for this. It's a little easier to pump 120 pitches when you're, 6'6", and you're throwing from about 50 feet away by the time you
after he stretches. I mean, you're looking at 102 miles an hour out of his hand. It's looking like 110 by the time it gets to the plate.
It looks like he's throwing batting practice for the home run derby, honestly, and it's coming in there at 98. So
yeah,
he's got good mechanics, and I think he'll be just fine. I think if you asked him to throw 3 games in the College World Series, I think he would absolutely do it. I think that would probably be pushing it a little bit, but these guys are competitors, and let's face it, they're going to be pitching for irrelevant single-A baseball teams here in just about 3 weeks. So,
and that was another conversation. That was another conversation in the booth was, it's been the big discussion between Paul Skeens or Dylan Cruz going number 1 in the draft. And I mean, it's based on Pittsburgh Pirates are in number 1, but if they're making a playoff push, which everyone thinks they will, I mean, they're kind of in a driver's seat here. Do you take Skeens and put him into the back end of your bullpen rotation? Maybe let him pitch 1 or 2 games in single A, throw him in a double A or triple A game. But I mean, he's got stuff to be possibly like a closer or a middle relief guy out of a big league bullpen this year. Or do you just draft him because he's pitched, what's he coming up on, like 180 innings this season? Shut him down and just wait till next season.
It's a cool story. I think it's a rare situation that you don't see often, with Pittsburgh kind of going from worst to first in their division. Right. And yeah, I think they could contend with the Brewers and the Reds for that playoff spot. But I think you have to be realistic. You're looking at a 1-game playoff for whoever wins the NL Central, and you don't want to jeopardize the future of your franchise, especially if you view him as a starter long term. But I personally would have let him throw a couple, games in the minors and then just kind of phase them out for the season. But I think you could let him come up to the bullpen, if you really wanted to, and give him that chance. But then next year, I would immediately send him back down to the minors and let him develop as a starter.
No, and that's a good point. So if you're Pittsburgh, you're taking Paul Skeens over Dylan Cruz at number 1?
I don't know. I'll let Tyler speak to it. He might know more about the prospects, but we've spent 3 years talking about Dylan Cruz being a five-tool player.
Yep.
And he's super talented. So I think it's hard to forego that, but Paul Skeens looks super polished as well. And Pittsburgh, they have some talent offensively. They don't have a ton on the mound, so I could see him making that switch.
Tyler, who are you taking?
I mean, you can't really go wrong with either of the guys.
I know that's what makes it tough.
It's whatever you want to prioritize right now. Like if you're thinking of, okay, we're gonna make a playoff push. Okay, we're gonna go with pitching. I mean, I don't think the Pittsburgh Pirates honestly are gonna make the playoffs. I think that the Reds already passed them. The Brewers, with their pitching, is gonna lock them up. So honestly, I've been going back and forth all season. It would not surprise me if they didn't even go Dylan Cruz or Paul Skeens, because I've heard like they want to save some money on, like some MLB teams rather go with like some guy from the high school and save some money and not have to, spend some millions on it, which I would want, which I'm really rooting for. I want like Paul Skeens to go to the Rangers and go with that program instead of the Pirates. But nothing wrong about the Pirates. But ultimately think that Pittsburgh is going to prioritize pitching. They definitely need it over offense. I think that, I don't know. It's just tough. Like if you're the Pirates, like it doesn't matter. Like if you want to go with Wyatt Langford too, like he's a good player as well. So I mean, the Pirates, I don't even know where they're going to go, but I think that they are really set up with that number 1 pick.
And I think Langford's a guy that you could save some cap space on. Like Tyler mentioned, I mean, he probably is expecting top 5 money at this point. So if he could maybe sign at that point, then you could, I guess the point in saving cap money is that you could take a high school kid in the 2nd round that might be going to college, and you can throw a huge signing bonus at him and get kind of 2 first-round prospects in that regard. But I don't know. 2 generational talent players like that. They saved some money a couple of years ago, actually getting Henry Davis, who made his MLB debut today. So
hit a walk-off today to win it, I saw.
Wow. All right. That's a good way to debut. So yeah, I think
they get into the league.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the draft order. You got Pirates, Nationals, Tigers, and Rangers. I bet you the Rangers would be ecstatic if Paul Skeens or Dylan Cruz happened to fall to them.
They're not going to drop that far, but I would be shocked if one of them fall to them. Nationals, though, I think they're in the driver's seat too. Like whoever the Pirates pass on, be like, all right, thank you very much. We'll take them at number 2.
If I'm being honest,
Cruz, who knows?
If the Pirates are making a playoff push, their pitching has been good enough to get them there. So if you draft Skeens, I'm probably not putting them in. I mean, like I said, he's thrown a ton of innings this year. You don't want to run into a Kumar Rocker situation where he has Tommy John as soon as he's drafted because you overuse him. So I would draft him, shut him down for the rest of the season. Maybe let him. I probably wouldn't even have him pitch in the minors. I'd just wait till next season. Give him a nice signing bonus.
A load of bullpens and get ready for next season.
Exactly. I think that's the way to go if you're the Pirates or the Nationals. So, but what day is the draft exactly? So we can let our listeners know.
I think NASCAR it's second week of July, like July 10th. Okay.
So we got a little bit of time. They'll know exactly what to do when it comes up. Like I mentioned, Neil, he says throw Paul if we got to play Thursday in a 2-1 game, which I think we all agree with you there, Neil. If you're in the chat, let us know who you would pick at number 1 in the MLB draft. And for those listening on audio on Wednesday, you can catch us live, usually Monday nights, but we're doing a special Wednesday night. Next week, potentially won't be going live on Monday night either if our Tigers are in a game 3 of the championship. Hopefully not. Hopefully they win the first 2 games, and we'll just have a celebratory show on Monday night. But yeah, I mean, College World Series has not disappointed yet. I think the score is still 2-1 Florida over Oral Aha, and tomorrow we'll have LSU take on Wake Forest at 6:00 Central Time, and Tennessee take on Stanford. I believe it starts at 1:00. So I'm looking forward to that Tennessee Stanford game. That's going to be a good game because they were both teams that can hit and they have good pitching staff. I don't know if y'all saw when Stanford's pitcher came in against Wake Forest, he had so much hair they had to put bobby pins to keep his hat on his head. He was rocking an afro, so respect to that guy for keeping his hat on. But have your predictions changed? Are we all picking LSU to win the national championship?
I guess I'm switching to LSU over Florida as Virginia's gone. But, yeah, I feel good about where things are at. I think that Wake Forest certainly, didn't disappoint. And I would say that Wake Forest probably has the pitching advantage over LSU coming into tomorrow's game. But the LSU bats have been really, really good. And I think that LSU's style of offense plays a little bit better for this ballpark.
Right.
I think Wake Forest kind of has some fringe power, and they might hit the ball well to the gaps, but a lot of these fly balls that were home runs at their home stadium are loud outs in Omaha, whereas LSU's kind of got the guys that can put it over the bullpens.
Well, and we mentioned this, Tyler and I, on our Bayou Bengal Bites show. You can catch it out over on our YouTube channel for your LSU news. I mentioned Ty Floyd. You see a few during the game leave the ballpark. He tends to leave a changeup high, maybe elevates a fastball, and the hitters go get it. But I don't think he has to worry about that in this part particularly, just because he can pitch with a little more confidence, knowing that it's going to stay in the yard more times than not. So I expect him to have a good game against Wake Forest's offense tomorrow.
Okay, he definitely needs to eat up some innings. That's definitely going to be crucial. You can't have any of these 3 innings pitch anymore. And
right,
you still got the guys available. Thatcher Hurd can go, but you would rather Ty Floyd eat up some innings and Thatcher Hurd go like 2 or 3 innings and then maybe get handed off to Nate Ackenhausen to close out the deal, and then you're set up for the 2-0 game, and whoever comes back and wins. So I think tomorrow's game is very crucial. I think that if Wake Forest wins, I just don't see a path for LSU to come back, especially with how Wake Forest's pitching is built. They have 4 aces pretty much, and the ace that's going tomorrow is a lefty. So that's definitely
that's an issue.
Interesting matchup. So Ty Floyd's going to have to be on it. I think that's definitely going to be the game of the year. These were the only 2 teams to reach number 1. LSU controlled the number 1 spot at the beginning of the season. It's been a Wake Forest. So this Wake Forest team, plays in the ACC. It's probably outside the SEC, one of the best conferences this year. So
got 2 teams making Omaha.
I mean, this is going to be. I think this is going to be a battle. I think it's going to come down to the final pitch. Every pitch is going to count in this. In this inning, and then also this game. But I'm still rolling with Tigers. And the other game will be interesting too, because Stanford has Quinn Matthews going, and Tennessee has Chase Dolander. So that will be an exciting pitching matchup right there as well. So I'm still going to go for Rocky Top. I just don't see them going 0-2.
I'm honestly surprised that Tennessee didn't throw Dolander last night against LSU. I think you saw the matchup at the beginning of the year, and it was a tight game until the very end. I understand that Andrew Lindsay has been your Friday night guy the past couple of weeks, but in my opinion, Dolander is definitely the better pitcher. But I guess it sets you up good now. You've got Dolander, you're basically your ace going up against a very good Stanford team. So worked out.
They wanted to throw Tennessee lost game number 1. Their pitching is also set up to still make a run.
Yeah. I want to quote Tony Vitello, favorite quote from the weekend. I don't know what we did to Gavin Dugas, but he hates us because he sends the hit home runs every time he plays them. So shout out.
Listen to Bayou Bengal Bites.
Yes, exactly. So Neil says whoever wins tomorrow night wins it all. I think I agree with you, Neil.
Especially on that side of the bracket.
Definitely. So you set up nice. And if you win, you hopefully save your bullpen. And game 3, kind of you can use some guys. So well, of course, we'll have next week to recap the rest of the games and then give our picks for the championship. Well, it'll actually be right after the championship, so we'll know who won. But nonetheless, it's been a fun college football season or college baseball season, not football just yet. Get too excited. Let's get into some golf. We had major golf this weekend. U.S. Open, 123rd U.S. Open at L.A. Country Club. Players don't love it out here. I personally don't like it when it's out there because it's still going on. It's 7:30 here in Central Texas, and they're on hole number 12. So who knows when the golf's going to finish? But we had Ricky Fowler lead most of the weekend. Now he's dropped a few shots. He's shooting 4 over right now. Not a great look for the Orange kid. He's in T3. But our picks from last week, we said Roy McIlroy, Tommy Fleetwood, or Scotty Scheffler. Roy McIlroy sitting in second place. Tommy Fleetwood and Scotty Scheffler are all tied for 5th place. So look at the guys. We should have placed a bet on all of them top 5. I mean, look at us. Doing good. Sung J.M. Wade, I don't even see him. I don't think he made the cut. So
I think he got cut.
Well,
yeah,
it's okay. That wasn't my pick on the show. That was just a historic pick.
Yes, I don't see him, so I think it's okay. I think you did all right. Of course, Tyler and I had our Max Homa bet. Max Homa didn't make the cut, so thanks for that, Max. Won't be betting on him anymore.
You've had enough chances, Max. Maybe next year.
But, I mean, typically the U.S. Open is set up for carnage. The USGA doesn't want anything under par. But Thursday, Ricky and Xander Schauffele came out and shot 8 under to tie the lowest U.S. Open opening round scores. But since then, I mean, there hasn't been, there's some guys at 11 and 10. Wyndham Clark's leading the pack right now at 11 under. But you go 11 and 10, and then third place is 6 under. So, I mean, all in all, people are shooting 2, 3 under. So I think they got what they want. But the course, from a viewer standpoint, heard it wasn't great. The fans are a joke. I mean, what is his name? Matt Fitzpatrick, who won it last year, said there's barely anybody out there. The atmosphere sucks. Which I did some digging. Turns out there was about 25,000 tickets each day to get into the U.S. Open. 10,000 of those went into suites and corporate sponsorships, stuff like that. And the other 9,000, so I guess it was 20,000. The other 9,000 was for general admission. The LACC membership bought up 4,500 of those tickets to themselves because they didn't want people walking on the grass at their course. So it is what it is. That means basically there was 4,500 general admission tickets, so that's why the fans are kind of iffy. So, I mean, Tyler, do you think they should be allowed to host another major championship after this?
I think they're done. I think the players, I saw Brooks Koepka in an article that he's sick of it. It's like, I'm seriously having I'm on a tee box and I'm having blind shots. So, I know that you mentioned, Ricky Fowler and Xander got off to a hot start, but now it's kind of cooled off. We've seen some hover around even. And then we saw Max Homa was under par and then he blew up, had 6 over. So I don't know. It's just, I haven't really been a fan of this course so far. The crowd, the atmosphere, it just doesn't feel like a PGA event. It's like no one there.
The live event. They merged. It's a live event.
Matthew Fitzpatrick had an ace, and you hear crickets. Scotty Scheffler hold it out, crickets. It's like, what's going on? Every shot and every big moment in this tournament is nothing going on. So Los Angeles Country Club, I hope you never host an event like this again, because you don't.
They're locked into 2032, so maybe they'll get it figured out in 10 years. But
or maybe the Saudis can just build a better country club, since they have millions and millions of dollars coming from nowhere.
Yeah,
it'll be the U.S. Open at Saudi Arabia.
Well, we could do the European Open, and they'll put it in Saudi Arabia. We'll just say it's the same. But I mean, you mentioned Scotty Scheffler holds out from 200 yards on a par 5. Or I'm sorry, I think that was a par 4. I was watching SportsCenter this morning. My camera is flickering. I don't know what's going on. I was watching
too hot. You're getting rolling blackouts.
I guess maybe my power's about to go out. I was watching SportsCenter this morning, and it was number 9 on top plays. I was like, do you know how hard it is to hole out with a 4-iron from 200 yards? I mean, he hit a beautiful draw, 3-hop into the hole. So I don't know. It's just, it doesn't have the hype that a major championship normally has. Wade, I want to get your opinion on this. Sam Bennett, the now professional, but the guy from the Masters from Texas A&M, the amateur that stole everybody's heart, turned pro last week, was T20 in RBC Heritage. He was T10 Friday, and then he goes out and he shaves his goatee. Rookie mistake. Shoots 9 over on Saturday.
Oh my!
Wade, do you think the reason he shot 9 over was because he shaved the beard?
I mean, I wouldn't have gone against the superstition. I would have kept what's working. But I think that's probably more of a rookie just getting the jitters and probably playing out of his mind early on and then playing to his real capabilities the next day. But chin up, grow out the facial hair, and come back and get him next week.
Hey, you still made the cut in the major. You're still getting a payday. So there you go. But yeah, I was shocked to see him show up Saturday. I placed a bet on him to finish top 20, and he shows up Saturday without a goatee. I was like, okay, maybe he's, I don't know, feeling himself. And then he shoots 9 over, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So I looked at his scorecard. It was like double birdie, double birdie, double birdie. And then the back nine was even worse. The back nine's been tough out here. But it should wrap up in about an hour. Tyler, you still got Rory hoisting the trophy on the 18th green?
Yeah, I mean, if he's that close, I might as well stick with him. So
one shot difference.
Go for Rory.
He's in the group ahead of Wyndham Clark and Ricky Fowler. Wade, who are you picking?
I need like 7 consecutive bogeys from everybody in the top 4
to get
so Tommy Fleetwood can win with a 6 under. He's probably already flying back to like wherever he lives and is going to be winning.
Yeah, he's T6 right now at -5. Wyndham Clark, the leader, is at -11. Scotty Scheffler and Cameron Smith are making a run. They're both at 6 under, but I think they're going to run out of time. I'm going to go Wyndham Clark to hold on.
Of course,
a little different from Tyler.
Just go with the favorite.
Sounds like a hotel brand.
Yeah,
staying at the executive suite at the Wyndham Clark.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, Rory, he's been choking lately, but maybe he gets it done. I think it'd be cool to see Wyndham win his first major.
I think it would be cool for storylines.
Yeah, I mean, Rory's already done. He's proven what he needs to do to stop talking about live. He realized what he said didn't matter, and he was out. He's just focusing on golf, and look at him. He's sitting at second place at the U.S. Open. So we'll see how it wraps up. We'll see who wins. If I'm right or if Tyler's right, who knows the better golf? So with that, I want to get into our dogs of the week. So here we go. Let him bark a little bit longer because I was taking a sip of water. So who got that dog in him? Tyler, start us off.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the MLB. I'm sure that Wade is probably going to follow me on that train as he always been. I'm going to go to the Atlanta Braves, go with Eddie Rosario. He had a big day today as the Braves were down 5-0 and it wasn't looking too good. And then they put up 14 runs on the Rockies as they swept
40 on
Colorado.
The weekend. That's crazy.
Holy cow.
I think he had like 5 home runs in the span of 3 straight games. So Eddie Rosario, dog of the week.
Dang.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tyler. That's a good pick. It's good to see him coming around. I mean, that Braves outfield looks really, really good now with Michael Harris coming around too. He had a good weekend. Acuna
5 for 5 today.
Went 0 for 15 on the weekend, and they put up 40 runs. So that's pretty interesting.
That's pretty good when you're your best player and you still put up that offense.
Yeah.
Wade, who you got?
All right, I'm sticking with MLB as Tyler mentioned. I'm going to go with the king of Major League Baseball at the moment, Shohei Ohtani. I mean, he's getting it done on the mound and especially with the bat. So, he now leads all of baseball in home runs after a tirade. This week, he hit 6 home runs, and he had a quality start as well in a game where he hit a home run against the AL West leading Texas Rangers. So it wasn't like he was getting this done against scrubs. Right. But I think since I texted y'all the final stat line, he was in progress and added another hit. So let's see what his final stat line of the week is for Mr. Ohtani. Yep, he added another hit. So 10 for 23, swinging the bat. That's 9 runs, 6 home runs, 12 RBIs, a stolen base for good measure, and 10 walks. So he stepped up to the plate 30 times, got on base 20. That's pretty impressive. So
yeah, really. I mean, the fact that he's doing it on the mound and at the plates, he's got to be one of he is probably baseball's biggest superstar. Do y'all think he stays on the Angels after this season?
Not if they keep winning.
Where do you think?
I think the Angels are kind of turning the corner. I think they could make a wild card push this year. But LA is a big market. It's just that he's on the wrong LA team. I think that the Dodgers, would give him a chance to truly live in the limelight. I guess my controversial take is I would consider paying him a lot of money just to be a hitter only. I think what he brings on the mound is great, and I think it adds to his athleticism. And I don't know, maybe it feeds into his rhythm, but I mean, just what he's doing with the bat is just incredible. He doesn't really play a position in the field.
Well, they had him in right field for a while last season. So I mean, if you needed
and this year he's been a DH only, and I think it's really helped him be able to focus. I mean, the guy's focusing on 3 different things at that point, so I get it. I mean, obviously, he would start at DH on any team in the league. He's that good, but I don't know. I don't know if the pitching helps him get in his rhythm or if it's maybe a little bit of an inhibitor, but I guess you'd have to ask the guy himself. But whatever he's doing, it's phenomenal. That's one of the most dominant weeks we've seen in Major League Baseball.
How many strikeouts did you say he had this weekend, or did he pitch?
He pitched. I don't know the pitching stat line. I can pull it up, but I know he got the win and hit a home run all in the same game. So it's kind of like a little league start. In his start this week, he
would have been the All-Star in the Little League All-Star game, the Little League World Series. Let him just go out there and hit.
Really, just let him do it all for you. Let's see.
I wouldn't go as far to say it inhibits him because he's performing at such a high level in both pitching and hitting. But I mean, to your point, I guess if he focuses only on hitting, could you imagine what his numbers would be?
I'm just wondering if
how can you get any higher than what he's at?
So he went 6 innings, got the win, let up 2 runs and had 3 strikeouts. So a quality start. And then he gave himself the lead with an 8th inning home run. So
I mean, look at him.
Out.
Yeah, that is the definition of got that dog in him. Before I give my pick, of course, let us know in the comments who your pick is for dog of the week. But my pick, Tyler, I don't know how you're going to put this on the poll, but it's the bartenders.
That's why I didn't even do the Twitter poll last week because I was not putting just security guard and having everyone confused.
No beans on them for the views.
Yes, bartenders over at Rocco's for making all the Jello shots. That's not my true dog of the league. I want to give you somebody. Mine's going to be Braden Jobert. LSU's right fielder, going 3 for 4 last night. I got to pick an LSU guy. A single shy of the cycle, and if the 110 mile an hour exit velocity line drive at the pitcher doesn't hit Andrew Lindsay's backhanded glove, that's a single for him right there.
And he would have done it in order without that.
Yeah, he would have gone single, double, triple home run. Yep. So, but I mean, we mentioned in Omaha, you need guys to step up and be a star in a game to win. And I think Jobert was one of the biggest stars last night, going double, triple homer. Great play in the field. So that's my pick for dog of the week. So let us know in the comments who your picks are. Of course, we'll be probably putting a little clip of this out onto our YouTube channel. So if you're watching, like, comment, subscribe, and give us your takes. Going down to the college basketball, shifting gears a little bit.
Haven't talked about that in a few months.
No, we have not.
Since March.
Bob Huggins was controversial a couple months ago for some comments that he had on a radio show. West Virginia gave him a second chance. What a lot of people don't know is he had like a lifetime contract. They changed it to year by year. Basically said if you screw up again, you're done. Well, 2 days ago, he got pulled over for drunk driving, very drunk driving, blew a 0.28 blood alcohol content, which is more than double the legal limit.
It's a good MLB batting average.
Yes, 0.280 gets you an all-star game right there. Didn't know where he was, so unfortunately that's a sad situation. But West Virginia, they didn't fire him. He resigned. So, I mean, he had his second chance and he blew it. So, kind of not surprising to see there. I'm not really tapped into the college basketball world and coaching carousel. Any guys that stick out potentially coach West Virginia?
I have no idea, but
within for the year at least.
Yeah. Since it's so sudden, they'll probably promote, but that's definitely a big blow. Bob Huggins has definitely been one of the best college basketball coaches. I think that he was going to retire eventually. It's just the incidents that's been happening, he
Right.
had to retire. Well, quote unquote retire. It's like, I know he resigned. I guess that sounds better than, fire a guy, but that pretty much was a self-fire. So,
Yep.
yeah, the university gave him, 2 strikes.
They gave him a second chance.
Yeah, he gave him a second chance, and he was blocking the traffic, and too much alcohol. I don't know.
Right outside of a
partying
Taylor
out there
Swift
in
concert.
Morgantown. It's a party city.
He got crazy at Taylor Swift. That's exactly what happened. Taylor brings up crazy.
But yeah, this West Virginia program might not be as good for a little while, especially with the interim changes that's coming.
I would imagine there will be a lot of transfers, a lot of people hitting the portal. So we'll see what happens. Unfortunate, don't ever drink and drive. Call an Uber. I mean, he makes enough money. He could have easily called an Uber or called a private driver, but he didn't want to use Uber. I mean, it's just there's really no excuse for that to happen. So I see you had it here in the notes, Tyler, in the document, we'll call it. San Diego State tells the Mountain West, see you later.
Basketball power right there.
What conference? Is this only for basketball?
No, it's going to be for everything.
Okay.
So, yep.
So what conference do you see them joining?
I think the most sense is the Pac-12. UCLA and USC are going to be out the door. It just makes sense geographically. San Diego State, the basketball team just made the Final Four. Their football team has been consistent at times. They just made a bowl game. So I think that it wouldn't be, like the okay move. I think that if you're the Pac-12, you got to go get Boise State just for the football power aspect of it too.
Well, and they got the blue field, so that's
yeah.
Cool.
But think about this: if the Pac-12 can't get their TV deal going, which they haven't yet, they're back down to the Pac-10 momentarily at the moment. So is it possible that we see the Pac-12 implode entirely and we see Stanford and Cal join the other prestigious California schools in the Big Ten, and then maybe we see the SEC go poach maybe a team like Utah or something that regionally makes sense, and then we see the Big 12 go after the powers of Oregon and Washington.
Oh, hold on.
I think that's a little far-fetched, but
the SEC go get Utah?
Yeah,
that's a long plane ride to be taking.
More sense in the Big 12, like Colorado and goes back to the Big 12, and Utah joins back with them.
I just think that
Oregon already has made the phone calls to the Big 10, but the Big 10 doesn't want them yet.
The Big 10 has their academic restrictions too.
But yeah, I definitely get where you're going. I mean, we're just slowly starting to go to super conferences. SEC is going to be SEC and the Big 10 are going to be the first ones to do it, and we'll see. If some of the ACC schools, maybe we see like Clemson and Florida State go over to the SEC. Who knows if that will ever happen? It just, it makes sense geographically, but. Maybe we see a merger between the Big 12 and the Pac-12. They're definitely going to make sense.
That would be that's a
big
better
pack.
approach.
The Big Pac.
Yeah,
I like
Big Pac 24. So you mentioned Super Conference, and 10 years or so, I could see it be SEC, Big 10, Big Pac 12, or whatever you want to call it.
Just the Big Pac. I like that.
That makes more sense to me because you got the Big 12 be kind of the Midwest area. The Big 10 is more northern states, and then the SEC.
And then you got USC and UCLA.
They'll join something. But I could see the ACC and the Pac-12 being the next two conferences to kind of just dissolve into Pac-12 and the Big 12. ACC probably split between the Big 10 and the SEC.
And then you'll have Notre Dame out there in the waiting in the wings.
Notre Dame will never join a conference.
School.
I mean, there's like 100 relevant programs, so if you get to maybe even less, maybe like 80. So if you got to like 420 team conferences, I guess that's what I'm getting at. Is
basically the NFL.
I feel like Notre Dame.
This is just San Diego State trying to
because their basketball, all their basketball programs are already in the ACC. I'm sure their lacrosse teams are in the ACC too. So I don't know. Either Notre Dame needs to join the conference, suck it up, go to the Big 10 or the ACC, and stop being independent.
Yeah, they're gonna get left in the dust.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Yeah, I agree. Breaking news to me. What about Paul Maneri interviewing for the Miami baseball job? Have y'all heard anything?
I didn't know that either. Now, that's interesting. He's remained in Baton Rouge, as far as I know, since leaving. But you never see Paul Maneri at the LSU stuff. You do see Skip Bertman interacting.
He's doing the reverse Skip Bertman because Skip's, went to Miami and then went to LSU. So Paul's trying to do the same. It's crazy to me, though. I thought that Paul Mainieri was going to be, done with baseball forever. But if he takes a Miami job, I think that's a program. I think that he's one of the great recruiting coaches. He have Skip Bertman. It was the head coach there. Miami has been a consistent program the past couple of years, though. They've been one and done in the region. They've been able to host the regional. So I think the rumors. I think he's definitely going to interview, but is he going to get the job? Probably not.
Yeah, I just don't know what he brings. I mean, this is a new era of college baseball, and he couldn't do it at LSU.
Yeah, college baseball is moving younger coaches. I mean, what Paul's got to be close to 70 now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just I'd stay retired if I was him. But you mentioned an interesting point. You don't see Paul Mainieri a lot at the LSU games this season. I feel like I've seen Skip Bertman more than ever before. I don't know if maybe Paul and Skip didn't get along that well. I might just be making up a narrative.
Skip was out there hitting the Tommy when he was accepting the award.
But I think he's salty that Johnson and Bertman are getting along better than he ever did with Bertman.
I think Johnson is going to Bertman a lot more for advice in terms of the LSU lore and atmosphere and just what it means to be the LSU baseball coach, which he doesn't need the coaching advice, obviously, but the politics side of things. I think Skip helps out, and Skip's been more involved with funding, some changes possibly to the stadium. So, but you did see Paul Mainieri when we at the Super Regional. I saw him in the stands. Saw him in the stands next to Skip Bertman and Scott Woodward. So, Neil, I didn't know about him possibly interviewing for the Miami job. I'd take the interview if I was him, but I'd probably stay retired.
I saw Joe Girardi interviewed for the UCF baseball job.
Wow.
Okay.
That would be an interesting hire.
Yeah. I mean, Coach Carousel's going around transfer portals. I mean, LSU's got 2 guys from the transfer portal this week. They're in Omaha. I mean, the coaching never stops. So it's interesting to see how this all is going to play out. It's like Wild West. I mean, NIL is not a huge deal in baseball. At least historically it hasn't been, but I think you're going to see NC State's catcher, leading hitter, similar to Tommy White. He just announced he's entering the transfer portal. So these guys are going somewhere where they can get a scholarship, explode for a year, and say, all right, bring me somewhere. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Speaking of transfers, we got to talk about the SEC. The SEC is transferring their schedule from CBS to ESPN starting this next year.
Next year, yep.
2024. And, of course, during the week, the SEC conference opponents were announced. We don't know dates, but we know teams. Let me pull it up here. Games you're most excited for. I know all of y'all. I'm not going to read every matchup. That would take forever. But give me a game, Tyler, you're most excited for in the 2024 season.
Yeah, the game that I'm excited for is this rivalry's finally coming back. It's Texas and Texas A&M at Kyle Field. I kind of wanted it to be at Austin. That way A&M fans are just more pissed off at Texas for coming in. But I think that the SEC granted them a home game for this one. So it's always a bloodbath. Both teams hate the ever-living guts out of each other. So I'm excited for the new SEC. Oklahoma got shafted.
Yeah, they did.
SEC, they got a gauntlet. Not only have to play Alabama, Tennessee, Texas, and then Ole Miss, Auburn. It's like, they have to travel to LSU. It's like, welcome to the SEC, brethren. So I think that Texas got the lighter end of it. I definitely think, they have Alabama, at home. They have Georgia. So I think all in all, Oklahoma definitely got the wrong end of the stick of this one. But the matchup I'm excited for is Texas and Texas A&M. Obviously, you could say Alabama and Georgia, but everybody knows that.
Wade, who's your most exciting matchup?
Personal reasons, I'm excited for LSU at South Carolina. That hasn't happened since 2015. I was in high school, and that wasn't even supposed to happen. There was a flood in, I guess,
right before
Baton
we
Rouge.
moved in.
Oh no, it got moved to Baton Rouge, so they haven't played
there
since
Baton
like
Rouge.
2012 or something. So
I was at the last time. Besides that, the time before when we had the fake extra point,
I was there
touchdown.
too.
It was pouring down rain. I was sitting there with my grandpa.
But the last 3 games have been in Baton Rouge, so I think I'll be making a trip. in the fall of 24 to Columbia. So that'll be a cool game to take in. I guess with the addition, I think, seeing teams like Georgia and LSU that have come out in favor of the 9 conference games, for them to, immediately take on Oklahoma and Texas respectively, I think that's pretty cool. Just believe in what they said, and the SEC's giving them their money's worth. So yeah, I'm looking forward to those matchups, and then I'm really looking forward to just the new schedule in general, however they end up setting it up. I heard this could be a one-off schedule.
I think that's the plan.
Might revise it, but I think you're going to see college football kind of transition to more of a NFL type schedule, where it'll be okay to lose a game or two in the regular season, and you can still make the playoffs and win the championship. So I think a lot of people have said this will kind of take the importance of the regular season away, and I disagree. I think that we'll have some really quality matchups, and then I think, just like we're seeing in Omaha, like these teams weren't perfect, but they battled to the respective championship match, and now you're seeing some battle-tested teams have a chance to win it all, and I think that'll be really cool, especially with some really good out-of-conference games set up too, like USC at LSU,
UCLA at LSU,
Clemson at LSU in a couple of years. So,
game I'm most excited for, mostly because they typically play in the SEC championship, is Georgia at Alabama, or is it Alabama at Georgia? I don't remember which one. I think Georgia travels to Bama. That'll be fun to see in the probably middle of the season, because you typically see them, like I said, at the end. And but now it's like, well, these two teams got to play each other. You take away, like, what am I trying to say here? Where you have both teams, like it was always LSU versus Alabama, and whoever wins that game is going to the SEC championship. Now it's like, well, they could say Alabama could win that game, but then they lose to Georgia, and it's like, well, it mixes things up a little bit. So,
well, without divisions, that game could decide who ends up in the SEC championship and who's going to be in the gutter.
So in 2024, are they moving away from the divisions, or is that
the divisions are no more?
Yeah. So is it just going to be the top two records?
It's going to be the top 2 teams. I think the Big Ten is doing that as well. So both of the mega conferences, if you will, are going to pretty much be in the same format.
Okay.
And I think that works, because you'll still have relevancy in the SEC championship and probably the Big Ten championship. Whoever wins that will be eligible for one of the top 4 seeds.
Yeah, it would probably be like a 1 seed, you would have to assume.
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing, like last year, you didn't see. I mean, obviously the 2 best teams in the Big Ten were Ohio State and Michigan, and then you see Michigan play Purdue in the Big Ten championship. Like, nobody wants to see that. They want to see Ohio State play Michigan again. So I like that both conferences are moving towards whoever's the top 2. That's who plays. I'm assuming tiebreakers, it's head-to-head record at that rate would probably be the best way to do it.
Yeah, you'll get to a situation where you still might not see the top 2 teams play each other in the regular season. I would take it a step further and have the tiebreaker be your college football playoff ranking, if that's what matters at the end of the year anyways.
I think you do tiebreaker is head-to-head, and if that's not the case,
if they didn't play, that's what I mean.
Okay, yeah. That, or you look at
not common opponents. I mean, like,
you go fantasy football wise, you look at points scored versus points against. Whoever has the most, that's who gets it. I'm sure they'll figure that out eventually. But I think 2024 is still 8 SEC games, and then they haven't made a decision. But I would imagine 2025.
I think they eventually are going to go to the 9.
Well, we mentioned this a while ago. A lot of it is like this deal they made with the ESPN was only for the 2024 season. So why give them an extra game for free? Yeah. It's a money thing. So,
and assure that in the inaugural 12-team playoff, your teams have the best records possible.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. You got to see how the playoff shapes up, and there's still a lot of questions unanswered. Yeah. But
there's a lot of moving parts that's still yet to be solved.
LSU plays Clemson that year, I think, anyways. So in
2025,
they're skimping out on a game.
That is true. That is true. I mean,
that's another rule. Like, you have to, each SEC team has to play one Power 5 school a year.
I like that.
And I think this year, this coming 2023 season, they said that Georgia and LSU are the only two, or Florida and LSU are the only two to play 10 Power 5 opponents, but they're giving us the benefit of Army, which, Army's a bowl team. I get it. I think that works.
Army's a very good chance to upset us is what I don't like that we're playing them.
It's them and Appalachian State are like the two teams you never want to face on a Saturday.
That flyover is going to be super cool, though.
Oh, dude, that's going to be awesome. We'll probably break out some cool like military appreciation helmets or something. I think Army is the weekend after Alabama also, so I don't love that. That's potential upset, but of course we'll get into college football previews once we get a little closer. Looking around sports league, of course, we had the NBA playoffs finals wrap up last week. The Nuggets won their first NBA championship 4-1. Take down the Heat. Of course, I was rooting for my Heat. Couldn't get it done. I mean, Nikola Jokic is just a force to be reckoned with. You can't stop him. Some trade news. Bradley Beal traded to the Phoenix Suns. So KD's got another guy. Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant. I mean, that's another big three. I think what is his name? Chris Paul go back to the Clippers? Wasn't it a 3?
No, he was actually in the trade. It was Landry Shamet and Chris Paul so now he's a Wizard.
That'll be cut.
There's no way that they hold on to him.
I saw a rumor about it. Yeah, I saw a rumor.
He's gonna be like, "Oh, I'm playing for this team. Yeah, I'm done. I'm gonna make more State Farm commercials and be done with basketball."
Yeah, I don't blame him. And then, of course, John Morant, his punishment came out suspended for the first 25 games of the season due to reckless. I think it's more like conduct detrimental.
As they like to call it. To the league.
Yes, reckless conduct. He issued another apology, said he'll be better. Same thing he said a couple weeks ago. So hopefully he lives up to his words this time. And, guys like Ja and Zion, Zion's got baby mama drama and stripper drama and all sorts of stuff. You look at the two NBA saw them as the faces of the league, and now they're dealing with this. There was trade talks for Zion. Pelicans are shopping him around. I personally think it's more to scare Zion into whipping into shape, or we're sending you elsewhere. I don't know, Tyler. Do you think the Pelicans are actually thinking about trading him?
If they trade him, I'm done with that franchise forever. I'll just say that right here.
Well, they would only trade him for like the number 2.
And they're done. I'm done with the NBA if that happens.
Okay, well, fair enough.
That's where I stand.
I mean, he hasn't really done anything. But
I know,
when he does play, he's dominant.
If the Spurs called you and said number 1 pick for Zion, you wouldn't take it?
There's no way that Zion's
I know they wouldn't, but I would jump on that.
I know that they are trying to move up to the number 3 pick to get Scott Henderson. It's like the Trailblazers already said up front, like, we either want Brandon Ingram or Zion. So
I'm not trading Brandon.
That's where the rumors are coming. Yeah, BI is untouchable.
Not a chance.
You bet. If they trade them, then the Pelicans are the stupidest organization in the world. So. That's where I stand.
If you trade Zion, you take a gamble. You kind of give up his contract, which is good, but you take a gamble. And maybe he gets out of New Orleans and he goes to Portland.
Even if they don't, I think this is the prove it year. If he can't even stay on the court for like 40 to 50 games, then you can go on and chop some trades. But you need to give like at least one more year, because this team still has some young talent to, not win the NBA championship necessarily, but definitely make some noise in the playoffs.
I mean, you're put in a hard place as if you're the Pelicans GM, because it's like, okay, do we hold on to him and we trust that he's going to get healthier, drop some weight, and get back on the court?
Yeah.
But the longer you hold on to him and he doesn't, his value is just going
his
down.
value. Yeah.
And now you're paying you signed him to this rookie extension after only seeing him play 100 games total, I think, in 3 years. So I don't know. I'm glad I'm not the Pelicans GM. So that's all I got to say.
Got a tough job ahead of him.
Yes, he definitely does. Got anything else, guys? I think we hit. I mean, Golden Knights won the Stanley Cup. That was no shocker. They beat the Panthers like 9-3 in the last game.
I saw they had like an empty goal for like the last 7 minutes of the game. They pretty much just threw in the towel.
Can't come back from that.
Yeah, those were two dominating. Yeah, there was some very anticlimactic. Like we had, really good NHL and NBA playoffs the whole time, and then we just have almost sweeps pretty much. It honestly should have been sweeps. Both teams got lucky to win both one game, but congrats to the Nuggets and the Knights, two teams that won their first championship. The Nuggets, this was their first time ever making it to the NBA Finals and winning, and then the Vegas Knights, we already talked about them. Their first season was 2017, and here they are hoisting the trophy. So congratulations to both teams.
Yep, I agree with you. Well, that's all I got for this week. Of course, if you want more exciting new sports news, stay up to date on everything happening. Give us a follow over there on the podcast, and then leave us subscribe on our YouTube channel. We're uploading tons of content. Tyler is a content machine. Of course, we take all of our episodes, clip them up into a little shorter, throw them on there. We got College World Series predictions and picks. We're about to start doing some college football stuff. We got some
Fantasy
things in the
football.
work. Fantasy football is coming up soon. You got to get those
football
teams.
corner.
Yeah, you got to get those teams right. We got some news coming up for that. So, as always, we appreciate everybody that tuned into the live show. We'll be back possibly to our normal schedule next week. We'll have to see how the College World Series plays out. Yes, TBD, potentially Monday or Tuesday. But with that, guys, thanks for joining me this week, and we hope everyone has a wonderful